A huge weather pattern change is coming to the United States over the next few days, and this will bring the return of even more severe weather to areas along the Gulf Coast, the southern plains, and back through the southeast, in addition to much colder weather. But as we go into this weekend and early next week, our jet stream is going to shift substantially, which should allow for more significant severe weather events as we go into early June. So in today's forecast, we are going to break down exactly what you need to know about the weather that'll be impacting the United States over the next 7 to 10 days, and we'll begin with what's happening across the country today. And we still have some big storms that have been ongoing throughout the morning hours back over in Texas. That is all now moving in the direction of Louisiana and Mississippi, where there will be a continuation of damaging winds and even a couple of tornadoes today, anywhere from Texas and Louisiana all the way back through Alabama and Georgia. On the other hand, we've had a lot of cloud cover stretching across the Midwest, across the Great Plains, and along the East Coast. This is all due to multiple different disturbances that have now impacted the United States, and we are anticipating even more severe weather to continue at least through Thursday of this week, especially in the central and southern plains. Now let's talk more about the weather pattern that'll be impacting the United States over the next week or two, and it's going to change a lot here just over the next 7 days. Right now we have a low pressure system in the upper levels that is spinning across the Midwest, and another little shortwave trough that is moving across the southern plains, and that's what's aiding the potential for severe weather. And as we go into Thursday into Friday, things are going to start to change a little bit, because that low pressure system will start to intensify a little bit along the East Coast, which is actually going to lead to more widespread rainfall anywhere from New England back to the Gulf Coast on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. But by Sunday into Monday, we got this little high pressure system that is going to begin to build in, at least briefly, across the Great Plains for the first day or two of June. But this is not going to last very long, because we are expecting at least one, if not maybe two, big storm systems as we go into the first week of June. And the first one will be sometime around the beginning of next week. This one will be more impactful for those in the central and southern plains, where severe weather will likely make some level of a return on Monday and Tuesday. But the more significant storm system is this thing right here over the Pacific Northwest around June 3rd or so, and it looks fairly likely that we are going to see a big storm system during the first week of June, and this should be the big storm system right here. So obviously this isn't impacting anyone east of the Rocky Mountains yet, but about Wednesday or Thursday of next week is when I think this thing will eject over the Rocky Mountains. And notice how strong our southwesterly flow will be across the Rockies. This is going to aid the potential for significant severe weather, I think, during the middle and end of next week. This should really especially be true for those in the northern and central plains, and then eventually, if this storm system stays strong enough, it could bring significant severe weather to the Midwest on Thursday or Friday, and perhaps even into the weekend back over in the Great Lakes and maybe the northern Ohio Valley. So again, our weather pattern is about to change in a big way. We are expecting some colder than normal weather across many areas from the central and southern plains back through the East Coast, then warming through the weekend into early next week, and then this big storm system that is likely going to bring some significant severe weather sometime next week. Now let's put this into more simplistic terms with the future radar over the next week or two, beginning with what's happening on Wednesday. Scattered showers and thunderstorms will continue along the East Coast, in addition to the Great Plains, where there could even be some isolated severe weather on Wednesday. As we go into Thursday, that storm system will move into the Ohio Valley, Midwest, and along the Gulf Coast, where isolated severe weather should continue, but it'll be mostly for those in the southeast. I wouldn't really be surprised if we saw a severe storm somewhere back up in Indiana or eastern Illinois, but generally speaking, it's a very low risk on Thursday. On Friday, that storm system broadens out. Rain will continue along the East Coast as our upper level low pressure system continues to impact areas along the East Coast. And then by Saturday, things are looking very quiet for most of the country. There could be some scattered storms back over in the central plains on Saturday, but that's very uncertain as of right now. Sunday appears to be one of the quietest days of our entire next 7 days. I'm not really looking at anything significant when it comes to severe weather. High pressure at the surface will be dominating across the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley, with very little rain activity. In addition to that, there could be a couple of storms near the Rockies on Sunday, but I'm not too confident in that as of right now. And then eventually Monday into Tuesday is when there will likely be some level of a return of severe weather in the central and southern plains. I do think that there will at least be some hail, wind, and maybe even a few tornadoes as we go into Monday and Tuesday of next week. By Tuesday, that weak storm system will move across the northern plains, may bring a little bit more severe weather to the Midwest on Tuesday. And then by Wednesday into Thursday, this is where things start to get a little bit more uncertain when it comes to timing and substantialness of our severe weather potential. But I do think Wednesday into Thursday will be the return of a significant storm system. The GFS model right now is picturing a low pressure system in the northern plains at around 984 millibars by Thursday of next week. And if this were to happen, we are definitely talking about some sort of significant severe weather event. Now, keep in mind mind that this is still about 8 to 9 days out from now. Things could definitely change between now and then, but this appears to be the next big shot for severe weather. Now, if you go any further into the GFS model, you're probably going to notice something really crazy, and that is a tropical storm hitting Florida. I want to point out that there will probably be some hype around this on social media, but there is absolutely nothing tropical that is forecasted to hit anywhere in the United States over the next week or two. Even though hurricane season starts on June 1st, there's no science in forecasting a tropical storm 15 days from now. I'm just letting you guys know that is not something I'm forecasting as of right now, but there's always a chance during the first couple weeks of June that we get something tropical in the Caribbean or even in the Gulf of Mexico. And over the next 7 days, we are expecting still a lot of rainfall anywhere from the central and southern plains back along the Gulf Coast. Most areas are expected to at least pick up 1 to 3 inches of rain. That is anyone in the purple, pink, or even back into the red and yellow. If you're back over here in the yellow, though, for Louisiana and even a little sliver there of Alabama, there's a chance for some localized areas to pick up as much as 4 to 8 inches of rainfall. So be ready again for localized flooding here over the next 7 days. On top of this, our temperatures are going to be on a little bit of a roller coaster for the next 10 to 14 days. We are expecting below average temperatures to continue for the remainder of this week across the Ohio Valley, Northeast, and most of the Great Plains. Above average temperatures will continue in the Rockies and also off to the west near the West Coast. Eventually, by the weekend and early next week, more cold air is going to filter out of Canada into the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic, where temperatures could be as much as 10 to 20 degrees below average. And then by early next week, warm weather is going to start to return back to the Great Plains. Moisture coming out of the Gulf, warm air building, and instability. This is all going to fuel the return of some severe weather as we go into the early to mid portion of next week across the Great Plains, and that should eventually return to parts of the Midwest and the Ohio Valley sometime during the first week or two of June. So definitely get ready. We're going to have a much more detailed video as well in our next forecast, talking a lot more about this big storm that's coming, but right now it definitely looks like a concern, especially for those in the Great Plains and perhaps the Midwest. And guess what? There is more severe weather ahead over the next few days, beginning with tossing trampolines on Tacos Tuesday. We do have a slight risk of severe weather in place in 2 different areas. This is what we call a double barrel slight risk. We got one back over in Texas and New Mexico, and another one back over in the Dixie Alley for today, where the most significant threat of severe weather will reside. Marginal threat also extends from South Carolina back into northeastern New Mexico. So the main concerns for today will be some scattered damaging winds, especially if you are in Mississippi, Alabama, or Georgia. Large to very large hail is going to be a big concern, mainly back over in the hill country of Texas and as well as South Texas. A few storms may produce hail as large as the size of apples, maybe even a little bit larger than that. With our storms that we were covering live on this channel yesterday, we actually had up to 6-inch sized hailfall as well, in addition to a tornado to begin yesterday's live stream. It was actually pretty crazy yesterday. We had a lot of severe reports. It was actually almost a severe weather outbreak here in Texas, but generally speaking, we could see something similar to that today, just a little bit further back off to the west. Additionally, there is a chance for an isolated tornado or two. I think our greatest tornado threat will honestly be in this area from Mississippi back into western Georgia. This is our QLCS tornado threat that'll come out of a line of thunderstorms, and then back over in Texas, a couple of discrete supercells may produce an isolated tornado, but I think overall the biggest concern will be large to very large hail. And as we go into Wednesday, the threat of severe weather continues to shift even further south and also further to the west, returning our high plains severe weather season with a slight risk of severe weather in New Mexico and Texas, where the greatest threat of large hail and as well as an isolated tornado will exist. And then anywhere else, we're mainly talking about isolated damaging winds and isolated large hail. So here's the timing for severe weather today and tomorrow, beginning with the Dixie Alley for today. A broken line of storms will continue to push across Louisiana and Mississippi this morning. Just after lunchtime, it should refuel into a slightly more intense line of thunderstorms with mainly scattered damaging winds between 60 to 70 miles per hour, but perhaps an isolated tornado. By 4 to 5 o'clock, this line continues to push east into Georgia, and honestly, by about 6 to 7 o'clock tonight, this thing is going to be very weak. I don't think there will be much left, but maybe some isolated damaging winds. Perhaps a brief tornado through about 8 o'clock tonight, and then eventually, as this goes into South Carolina, the damaging wind threat will start to fall apart, and there will be mostly just strong thunderstorms by that point. So again, main time frame for the Dixie Alley is really from 12 until about 7 today. And then back over in the southern plains, we're going to be talking about a bunch of supercells firing off later today, but a lot of these will actually be in Mexico, a few of which will be in the hill country, though. The biggest concern is large hail damaging winds. There will be an isolated tornado out of those storms, and there may even be an isolated tornado over in southeastern New Mexico, and also some large hail. By this evening into the overnight hours, these storms fall apart in South Texas, and then as we go into Wednesday morning, there will just be some scattered showers and storms out there, and then eventually during the afternoon, a lot more storms will fire off, mainly back over New Mexico and again the hill country of Texas. But I wouldn't rule out a couple of hailstorms, maybe a brief tornado happening forming somewhere just to the south of Abilene, and a few storms will also continue near the Gulf Coast Wednesday afternoon, before eventually our severe weather threat starts to go lower as we go into Thursday. And as always, thank you all so much for watching today's forecast. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. I had no intent of doing a video today, but I think we're going to take a day off either tomorrow or on Thursday. One of those 2 days we're going to take a day off on, and then we'll be back to daily videos probably again starting on Friday. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon so you're notified with the latest updates, and we'll see you guys all again in the next forecast, which again will either be on Wednesday morning or Thursday.